We will talk about the nobility or royalty quite a bit in this class. This is a brief description of what these terms mean. America does not have a nobility because the country was formed around the time of the French Revolution and during the Enlightenment. During the French Revolution, the French people tried to do away with nobility and establish a rudimentary democratic government. Although they did not succeed in doing so, their revolution started the ball rolling in the direction of the democracy that all European countries and many other countries in the world now enjoy. There are still countries today that have a monarchy, king, queen, princesses, etc., and at the same time, a democracy. England and Sweden are two examples. In these countries, the royalty, another word for nobility, do diplomatic work while the elected official runs the country. Some examples of noble titles are kings, queens, princesses, princes, counts, dukes, margraves, and other titles. Noble titles vary from country to country. The French Revolution began in 1789 and continued until 1793. The American Revolution started in 1776, around the same time, and America became a separate nation in the 1780s. Several French, Polish, and German noblemen were prominent fighters in the American army during the Revolutionary War, partly because they were in sympathy with the anti-monarchy point of view, and partly because England and France were traditional enemies. Traditionally, in order to be part of the nobility and have all the advantages that went with it, power, wealth, influence, etc., you had to be born into it. As time went on, a few individuals were able to rise to noble status by becoming wealthy and influential, that is, through their own talents. But this was mainly happening while the noble class was in decline toward the end of the 19th century, and generally, mainly only among the lower status of nobility. In the earlier centuries, noblemen and women were wealthy and kept courts where they, their advisors, their families, and their servants lived. The court of a noble family consisted of a castle or palace where the family lived, a magnificent and enormous garden, and additional buildings that housed servants, workers, and others hangers-on, including other nobles who had their own palaces elsewhere but preferred or were required to be, quote, near the action, unquote. The closest thing to a noble court that we have in America might be the White House, where the president lives with his family, or the president, she, lives with her family. The difference is that the advisors, servants, and hangers-on live elsewhere.